Welcome, friends, to another exciting episode of A VGM Journey. And I'm your host, The Messenger. The track that we're playing in this week's show is Pac-Man's Park from the game Pac-Mania, and it was composed by Junko Ozawa. Like always, we got a lot of fun tracks for you guys this week, and before we get into that, I just want to have a brief moment and give a big thank you to everyone that's listened to the show and has been regularly listening to the show and showing their love and support and throwing requests for the show. And I'm saying all this because recently the show just hit 20,000 downloads / plays. And I know for most things that's probably not really that impressive of a number, but for a niche project like this, I think it was a big deal to me. So I just want to once again say thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. And in celebration of that, I did get a couple requests that were specifically for this. And we're going to start things off with a request from Scott McElhone. He wanted me to play the track Title Screen from the game Hot Shots Golf, and it was composed by Motoi Sakuraba. That track that we just played, that was the title screen from Hot Shots Golf, and it was composed by Motoi Sakuraba, and this was a request by Scott McElhone. Scott had this to say, "Man, so many good memories of this one from freshman year in college, where I was in triple. Is that a thing anymore? We would play this sucker for hours, and folks from all over the dorm hall would come in and out to grab a round. Oh, and the title song rocks. Maybe the golf track not worthy of being on KVGM The Last Wave because it's not smooth, but a banger. Well, as much as a golf track can be a banger, that track really is something, isn't it?" And I think what's really cool about this was the original Hot Shots Golf was developed by Camelot, who in a couple years after that would develop the Mario Golf series. So it played very similar to that. And they also brought Motoi Sakuraba for that as well. So this definitely has a prototype Mario Golf sound to it, which I didn't even really think about all that often, but I think this is definitely a soundtrack that I want to take a listen to because I really love the Mario Golf stuff. So I just want to say once again, thank you, Scott, for that request. We're going to move on to a very different kind of request. And this is coming from Martyrus, the host of ReVGM. And normally I don't really play covers or remixes or arrangements. Well, okay, the arrangements part was kind of a lie. But for a special episode like this, I was willing to play this request. This is coming from Distant Worlds, music from Final Fantasy. And this track is called Swing the Chocobo, and it was originally composed by Nobuo Uematsu. track that you just heard, that was Swing the Chocobo from Distant Worlds, Music from Final Fantasy. It was originally composed by Nobuo Uematsu, and this was a request by Martyrus. So thank you, Martyrus, for that request. The various Chocobo themes that have popped up throughout the entire Final Fantasy series has always been a really fun track that just happens to span different genres of music. And this is no exception. And the Distant Worlds Music from Final Fantasy album celebrates various different songs from all the different Final Fantasies. And this is just one of those tracks that it just happens to cover the entire series pretty much, which I think that's pretty cool. And it's just kind of like celebrating a certain amount of downloads for a certain VGM podcast show that may or may not be this one. I mean, yeah. So I just want to say, once again, thank you, Martyrus, for that request. We're going to move on to something else. And to be honest, I've been kind of on a Mario Kart kick as of late. So I know I just played a Mario Kart track last week. So I'm going to throw another one at you. And this time coming from Mario Kart Wii, this is Coconut Mall, and it was composed by Asuka Oda and Ryu Nagamatsu. That track that you just heard, that was Coconut Mall from the game Mario Kart Wii, and it was composed by Asuka Oda and Ryu Nagamatsu. As a piece of music, I think Coconut Mall is pretty fun. I mean, it's nothing mind-blowing, but it's a good time, just like the track itself. And I will admit that Mario Kart Wii, I think both as a soundtrack and a game, I just don't think it's as good as the rest of the series. I mean, it's not a bad game. It's just not in the level of something like Mario Kart 64 or Mario Kart 8. And I think it's a toss-up between this and Mario Kart 7 of having the weakest soundtrack in the entire series as well. I mean, there are good stuff in both, but there are a lot of pretty lackluster tracks. But with Coconut Mall, I think it's a pretty strong composition. It's pretty catchy, and I think it definitely adds to the energy of racing around this mall, going up escalators and trying to avoid cars in the parking lot. And it was really cool that they brought this back for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe through the Booster Course Pass. So I will say that was a pretty fun time. I think for our next track, we're going to play something from Snowboard Kids 2. The track is Starlight Highway, and it was composed by Tomohiko Satou, Isao Kasai, and Sayuri Yamamoto. That track that you just listened to, that was Starlight Highway from the game Snowboard Kids 2, and it was composed by Tomohiko Satou, Isao Kasai, and Sayuri Yamamoto. And that's going to just about do it for the show this week. If you like what you've been listening to, have your friends check out the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever podcatching service that you can think of. I'm more than likely going to be on there. You can email the show at vgmjourney@yahoo.com, and you can also check us out on Twitter at vgmjourney. We also have a Discord server for the show, which I will provide a link for that in the show notes, where you can hang out with your fellow VGM journeymen and talk about games, music, and even look at some cool art. We're also gonna play things out with one more track, and I've been on kind of a hockey kick as of late, since the NHL season just started this week, and I want to play things out with the ending theme from Super Ice Hockey, and that was composed by Hayato Matsuo. Have a good week, everyone.